joining us right now, as he often does at this time when we're lucky, Larry Kudlow, CNBC senior contributor and host of The Larry Kudlow Show, heard right here on WMAL Saturdays at 7 p.m. Hello, Larry.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So, well, listen, we got a lot of new names in the presidential political pool here, but I want to first talk about one of the guys that a lot of people see as a front runner who hasn't thrown his hat in officially yet, Jeb Bush. Mm-hmm. Last night he gave an exclusive interview to Megyn Kelly on Fox News, talked about a whole lot of things, but one thing he mentioned about President Obama's immigration policy and his unilateral call for amnesty for many people who are in this country, up to 5 million. Jeb Bush said that he would do away with that, but not unilaterally, not immediately through an executive action, as most Republicans would like to see their candidates say. No, he said, yeah, we'll do away with it by passing our own comprehensive immigration reform. Is that going to cut it in states like Iowa during these early stages?
Well, I don't know. It's a good question. I also think that the small slice of voters in Iowa who are in that sort of restrictionist corner of the GOP should not have near as much power or authority as they do. I mean, they don't speak for the Republican Party.
Well, wait. What do you mean by restrictionist? They are offended by the idea that millions of people who broke our laws and have been continuing to break our laws in this country are getting away scot-free by getting an amnesty by the president's pen, not by legislation.
Well, hang on. You're conflating two issues here, but they're different issues. One is the executive authority issue, which Bush opposes, and I do too. You're going to pass a bill. Congress has to pass a bill. And I think Jeb made that clear. Whether he said he's going to pass it quicker or slower, I don't know. He didn't really explicate that at any great length. So I don't know. I oppose that too, and I'm for immigration reform. But the second point is, regarding the good voters of Iowa, I'm sorry, I disagree. I think they're always on the far restrictionist right, and I don't think they speak for the party. And I think it's silly to keep making this argument that anything that is done to secure the 11, 12 million illegals who are already here, that anything is done is bad, is wrong. You can't. Jeb said this. You can't ignore this. It's there. So let's do something about it. And he makes a proposal that I personally favor. He proposes legalization, but it isn't to do nothing. They have to have They have to meet a number of conditions. They got to have paid their taxes. Their records have to be checked. Any criminal records would disqualify them, and they would have to be deported. They have to speak English, as Rubio said the other day, and a good point, and they should know some American civics. In other words, they have to go through certain tests. But they're here, and they should be brought out of the shadows. And those that don't qualify won't qualify. We'll send them home.
Let me drill down on one thing you said, because you said they have to pay their taxes. You know, when a lot of these people file their taxes, they're going to qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, basically a give back, a payout from the federal government. Should they be entitled to that?
We don't know that. I just want to make this plain. And I agree there's a lot of fraud in the EITC. I think the latest IRS number is something like 27% or 25% of the EITC is fraudulent, or it shouldn't have qualified. But Jeb said, and I heard this, no welfare. And that's an important condition. And the EITC would come under that.
Fall under that.
Would come under that heading. So I think you got that right. Look, the most fundamental point he made last night, and I don't know why the Republican Party can't find its way towards more unanimity on this, is that regarding legal immigration in the future, which is the key to this whole story, they should emphasize economic-related visas and skills-related visas, not family-related visas. That's a terrific, important change. Most countries around the world have gone that way. We're one of the few that have not.
Right.
So Jeb's not saying let the floodgates open. He's saying, wait a second, we have to be very careful. Those that can grow the economy and bring skills. Look, there's low-hanging fruit here, fellas. I mean, this is my brew. I just wrote on this myself. The brainiacs, the H-1B visas, the foreign students who go to our universities, why should they have to leave? If we're training them and we need them, why shouldn't they be allowed? They will help to grow the American economy. Intel was started by immigrants. Google was started by immigrants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, hold on, but I just want to drill down on one thing. We each get a chance to drill down here. Jeb Bush says
drill, baby, drill.
That he would not repeal the Obama immigration order right away.
Yeah.
He says, look, I would change it by implementing my own policy. But, I mean, many conservatives, and I find myself in this category, I mean, I strongly feel this way. I don't want a president to do things by executive authority and circumvent the will of Congress and the stated law as it is on the books today. Shouldn't we hear Jeb Bush say in clear and concise language, the moment I become president, I strike down that executive order?
He could. I probably have no trouble with it. He could. I don't have a problem with that.
Right. But he hasn't said that.
Translating that into an actual action is not going to be that easy. But if nothing happens, let's say the courts hold it up, that would make it much easier to just strike the action down. And I do think you have to make a point that these cannot be executive actions.
Right.
These have to be legislative actions. So I agree with that. Look, it's the same with the Iranian treaty. It's the same with the trade promotion treaty. Congress must reassert itself and take what is rightfully theirs under the Constitution. So I can't parse through his words, what is he meaning about that precisely. But I agree with your main point. But I think my point is a bigger point. My point is a better point.
It's something really has to be done here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if we're going to change, look, what we want here is to stop the flood of illegals and start a new legal visa system. Family-based, no. Skills-based, yes. And I think that we have to look out for the economic interests of the country and the number of visas that will be allowed. Look, I would double and triple the H-1Bs, but I might not do anything like that. I might actually reduce the level of new visas for different categories. So all that has to be explained. It's funny. I know that's controversial, and I know a lot of people are going to take your extreme restrictionist view, Brian, and run with this. But I just want to chime in and say that I was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, listen. I just for the record, I
didn't mean to be so blunt.
Well, listen. You can be blunt with me anytime you want to be. But here's the thing. I mean, I actually am of the opinion that maybe we need to do something about immigration. But you do it by going to Congress, convincing the American people it's the right course of action, and passing a law.
We agree.
Yeah.
We agree. I agree. I totally agree with you. I'm there.
Let me ask you about
what I remember. I would want to vote immediately. Thank God I'm not a member. But the other point has got to be, how does it impact the American economy? That's the other point. And I thought Jeb was very good on that. Look, you can't go. I don't know how far you want to go on this, but the reality is harsh language regarding the immigrants, the illegals, and the rest of that issue. Harsh language is a big political turnoff to a number of other groups that will be listening and watching. This is the GOP's problem. Now, they said they were going to do something about it after 2012. I don't know that they have.
All right.
You're talking to millennials, you're talking to women, you're talking to Asians, you're talking to African Americans, et cetera, et cetera. You know what? The GOP must be a more inclusive party.
All right.
That's what it's got to do if it's going to win.
I got to leave it right there. Yeah. Larry Kudlow. Always a pleasure.
Have me on your show for an hour, Larry, and we'll debate this.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a restrictionist. That's what I am.